Chaser Report is recorded on Gadigal land.
Striving for mediocrity in a world of excellence. This is the Chaser Report.
Hello and welcome to the Chaser Report with Dom and Charles. I'm Charles Firth and with me today is special guest Andrew Hansen.
Hello, Charles. Yes, I'm coming to you from Melbourne, and Charles, I believe you're in Sydney.
Can we not talk about it? Can we not? A typical Melbourne person bringing this up. I knew you would bring this up, Andrew.
It's a bit of a thing. Has just happened, hasn't it?
Well, we should probably explain it. Do you want to explain it because you're so good or what?
Well, no, because I haven't read the article. But
okay,
I saw the headline and I rolled my eyes so hard I got a headache and did not read it. Didn't read the article, so you can tell us.
So this morning, there's a report has been released that says that Melbourne is now officially bigger than Sydney. Like, essentially, the biggest city in Australia is fucking Melbourne.
Is now Melbourne.
Yeah.
Finally, as Melbourne people would say, we've finally proven our point here in Melbourne that we are actually the best city, and the population have recognised it. It's like a vote, isn't it? It's like voting. The population's the same as voting. It's whoever gets the most is the best.
Yes.
Don't you think?
Well, but I've grown up my entire life thinking, well, you know, yeah, sure, Melbourne has much better coffee, much nicer people. It's sort of got a better geography and better public transport and everything. But Sydney is the best because it's the biggest. Like, I live in the biggest city in Australia. Now what have I got? I've got Sydney, the biggest fucking lame-ass shithole where you can't even go out at night unless you just want to gamble. And we don't even have the fucking biggest. We're like the Chicago of Australia. We're just this sort of fucking middling piece of fucking shit.
Why have you let this happen?
See, the thing is, and it's sort of a technicality, right? Because it's very close, right? Melbourne has 4.8754 million people, which is 18,700 more than Sydney, right? So they're basically, it's a dead heat, right? And it's because of definitions. Like, it's about the significant urban area, right? And like in electoral politics, every few years geographers rewrite what the boundaries of significant urban area are, right? Based on, you know, like where people live and, you know, what services they have and stuff like that. It's not because Melbourne's better. It's just like because they fucking rewrote the map.
Well, hang on, they should go further. If that's the case, the Melbourne geographers, if they really want Melbourne to be ahead, they should just extend the boundaries to Perth.
Yes.
Just say, yeah, Melbourne includes Adelaide, it includes Perth, it includes Sydney. We might as well include Sydney as part of Melbourne. That would make Melbourne much bigger. We'd just suddenly have another 5 million people.
Would that mean that we would get your coffee?
Well, yeah, I suppose it technically would, you know, because baristas
I think this
are so
would
broke
solve,
they'd have to commute.
This would solve a lot of
problems.
And would we get all the sort of like left-wing politics and people all dressing in skivvies and wanting to save the environment?
Yeah, unfortunately, you would get
okay.
you would get a lot of irritating, self-satisfied, smug, woke people. Yes, yeah, I imagine you would, you know, because urban sprawl and all that sort of thing, you know, and just moving back and forth. But I wonder if we did that. I wonder if Melbourne would.
But maybe the thing is, we would have an influence. Like if you envelop Sydney, maybe you'd get worse coffee and have sort of real people who actually just aren't didactic pains in the ass.
Yeah, we would, and maybe nice weather. I mean, I wonder if we could get some rays of sunlight.
Nah, that's never going to happen.
They'd travel? Do you think they'd commute to get to the Melbourne bit of Melbourne? I don't know.
I'll tell you what, I spent a week in Melbourne last week, and it is the fucking fuckedest fucking weather in the fucking universe. It is just...
Well, you know what? You know, the week you were here, that's the best week of the year. That's the nicest week. You were here in the middle of April, which is honestly Melbourne's nicest weather of the entire 12 months.
But the weather made no sense. It was like a satirical... It was like, you put the weather on for the comedy festival or something. Because, you know, it would be a boiling hot, humid day. and then it would just start to rain, and you'd look up in the sky, there'd be no clouds. And my kids would say, where is the rain coming from, Dad? And it'd be like, I don't know. It's just they've obviously, like in Melbourne, they just turn on the rain. They just ignore the rest of the weather patterns. They just go, okay, yeah, it'll start raining now. It's just
No, that's right. We don't need clouds here for the weather to be nasty. No?
Yeah, that's right. And then
We also do nighttime in the middle of the day here. Like you know, I don't know if you've ever visited during June or July or August in Melbourne, but it's kind of like you know those sort of Scandinavian crime shows where it's always nighttime.
Yes,
pretty much like that. You know, I mean, we're basically in Antarctica, so I've often been known to walk down the street to find lunch with a torch.
Yes.
You know, I need a battery powered means of just seeing as I go if it's overcast in Melbourne in the middle of the day.
Do you ever fit one of those miner's lamps to your beret?
That's what you know. That's what comes standard with a Melbourne beanie.
Yeah.
Every Melbourne beanie is equipped with a miner's lamp so you can get down the street.
Yeah.
I did notice also in the news, Charles, by the way, on this sort of Sydney-Melbourne rivalry, you know the CEO sleep out, which they book in for June.
Yes.
This was in the news today. In Sydney, something like 5 times the number of CEOs have signed up to sleep outdoors in June compared to Melbourne. And I just thought, well, I wonder why. Why would it be that you might be slightly more amenable to sleeping outside on a balmy tropical evening in a Sydney June than in the middle of an Antarctic storm?
But also
with bloody
like June, isn't that when Vivid is? Like, wouldn't it be the most spectacular sleep out you'd ever had? Like,
you'd be out all night partying anyway.
Yeah. It just you'd be warmed by the bathe of lights that as you get treated to a sonne luminaire.
This population thing, though, Charles, the other aspect of this that interests me is the notion that a big population, you know, means that it's a better place. Is that right? You know, I wonder how true really?
Because if that
really
were true,
that? I mean, if that
were true, that would mean that Canberra's a complete hole. Oh, yeah, right.
Oh. Okay.
And that Adelaide's just dregs.
But does it? But I mean, you look at these cities of teeming people in India and China. You know, there's always some Chinese city that you've never heard of, and they go, "Oh yes," and it's home to 48 million people.
Yeah.
You know, and you see them all squashed together. I mean, do you look at that and do you think, oh, that looks like paradise? Oh,
yes.
I want Melbourne to be like that. Oh, if only Melbourne had that many people, it'd be even better still.
So you want Melbourne?
So
you want Melbourne to be a bit more exclusive, do you? You want it to just.
Well, this is the thing, yes, but you don't come to Melbourne because it's the bloody biggest. It's absurd.
Yeah.
And when these forecasts came out, the Herald Sun went nuts, of course, here. The Herald Sun, you know, had a lift-out section when the figures came out predicting that Melbourne was going to become the biggest city by 2030. It was like, get ready, Melbourne.
Yes.
Great news. Finally, we're the biggest and best. You know, but I have heard people say, look, I don't know if it necessarily means it's the best thing ever. The fact that you can no longer park or move or breathe in the
I can see where you're coming from, but I get the impression that Melbourne people have secretly always wanted to be the biggest and the best. Like the fact that they call the St Kilda Boulevard, the world class. What's it called? St Kilda's Melbourne's world class boulevard. They've got a sign proudly about that. Like they want to.
Yes, it might even be world famous. Is it world famous?
World famous St Kilda Boulevard.
Those little bakeries you see on road trips.
Yeah, I think that they've always
the
wanted
world famous St Kilda Boulevard.
They've lived in the shadow of Sydney, and now Sydney gets the chance to live in the shadow of Melbourne. And look, I think Melbourne is doing all the right things to make itself as bad as Sydney. Because I noticed that when I was in Melbourne that you're digging tunnels everywhere. Which is, I mean, that's the reason you come to Sydney is to see all the tunnels, but you don't see any of Sydney. You drive around Sydney.
That's right. We love
seeing
it. Yeah, we're
walls.
very envious of Sydney's tunnels.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, every time I drive through that Lane Cove tunnel
Ah,
in Sydney,
yes.
I think, if only Melbourne had a few more of these.
And that's not even the best tunnel. Have you tried the M8?
Oh, that's a superb tunnel. I
Yes,
have.
it's
That's
good.
a beautiful tunnel.
Very nice.
I'm praying that Melbourne's. Here
The
in Melbourne, the Burnley tunnel is a good start. But that's why we're building another 49 tunnels here.
Yes. Do you think that maybe Sydney's mistake was that they, whereas Melbourne locked everyone down for the last couple of years and prevented everyone from leaving, Sydney built all these tunnels, which makes it much easier to escape Sydney. And that's the reason why
I see.
we've fallen behind.
That's why they're all bloody here.
Yes.
That's why they all came to bloody Melbourne. I think you're onto something. It's the tunnels.
I feel like we should have, if we'd done this topic justice, we would have had more rivalry. I feel like we both appreciate how shit each other's cities are. What you're supposed to do when you do these things is you're supposed to sort of get on board and really defend your own turf. But I can't think of a single thing to defend about Sydney, except our tunnels.
The problem is nobody in Sydney does that. Sydney people don't. Sydney people don't really care about the whole rivalry issue. And whereas Melbourne, a certain type of person in Melbourne cares very deeply. We should have invited one of those sort of Melbourne-born and bred people who have a deep-seated care factor.
Yes.
Because I don't, because I've lived in both. I'm sort of like, they're both kind of just middle-of-the-road cities at the arse end of the world. Pick and choose between them.
Yeah.
They're both fine.
Yeah.
Both perfectly adequate. They're not war zones. Which is good.
Yes.
But nor are they Paris or New York, which is bad.
On that note, our gear is from Rode. We're part of the Iconoclast Network. Andrew, it's been a pleasure having you. When are you next? Oh, no, you're still doing the Melbourne.
Sure has.
You're still doing Melbourne. So we should...
I'm doing a Melbourne run, yeah.
We should totally plug your show, because that ends on Sunday, doesn't it?
Well, that's right. I know. We should plug. So if you're in Melbourne and you're not admiring the new tunnels, then yes, my show Andrew Hansen is cheap, and that's playing every night at Trades Hall in Melbourne at the Melbourne Comedy Festival until this Sunday, the 23rd of April. Then I'm going to be in Perth on the 5th of May. I'm going to be in Brisbane the 12th of May, and Sydney has the show from the 17th to the 21st of May. And so you can see Andrew Hansen is cheap at any of those places if you like. You go to mrandrewhansen.com and you can come and see it. It did win an award, actually. But just ignore that.
Which award?
It's not a profound, deep, and meaningful, emotional, traumatic journey.
Was it an award for most expensive show at the Perth Comedy Festival?
It used to be, but I took those tickets off.
Oh, you took those
Charles,
tickets, right?
But
okay.
it's now the cheapest.
What's the award?
The $244 tickets are no longer on sale. Oh my God! I don't know why they were on sale to begin with.
But what is the award? What's the award?
The award is an Adelaide Fringe Weekly Award for Best Comedy.
Oh, well done.
But look, it's just no, not well done. I don't want this to damage my sales. It's not a profound and difficult show to watch. It's not going to have you in tears. It's not going to have a difficult life story or anything like that. It's just a funny show full of songs and sketches. I promise.
No, that's bad marketing. Amusing. You got to promise tears if it's a comedy show nowadays. Everyone wants a bit of pathos.
No, I don't. I exactly. This is the problem. I'm thinking of suing over that award. I really am.
Yeah.
Like, don't you give me an award. This show's really entertaining. Thanks.
Yes. I know what you mean. Can I plug my show while we're at it?
You plug your show too. Yes.
So, Wayne Economics, we've finished our Melbourne run, but we're doing Perth on the 6th of May. We're doing Sydney on the 11th of May and Brisbane on the 18th of May. So, although I think Brisbane's pretty much sold out. But, Sydney or Perth. Yeah, if you're in Brisbane, just fly down to Sydney and see that show instead. And you can get tickets from wankonomics.com.
It hasn't won an award. I'm jealous because...
It hasn't won any awards.
Not won an award.
Yes, because it's just really funny. Yes.
You're so far ahead of me.
I know.
You're way ahead of me.
Yes.
This is terrible.
Although I think
maybe next year I won't win.
You know what you should do to sabotage me is to give me an award, the Andrew Hansen Award for tortuous drama in a comedy show or something and really scuttle my sales.
Yeah, or if I see any of your posters around, actually, when I'm in Perth, because I'm in Perth the day before your show, right?
Oh, really?
So you can see back-to-back Chaser shows in Perth.
Oh, maybe I'll come and see you in Perth. I'll fly in a day early.
But I'm going to go and find your posters around Perth, and I'm going to draw awards on them
to
bring
you
down to my level.
You bastard. Yeah, I noticed, because none of your posters has the award on it. You haven't put the award on your posters.
Well, I'm not going to advertise that, am I? For God's sake, I want people to come to the show.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Our gear is from Robe. We're part of the Iconoclast Network. See you next week. Oh, no, see you tomorrow, probably. Yeah, see you tomorrow.